Well, g'day. It's Wednesday, 17th of January, 9 o'clock here in Auckland, 9 at night in Europe. So another interesting day. So Explorer finally got away. You probably saw that. And they're the only ones that have been struggling during the night. Very little light headwinds, doing 1 knot in the past update, trying to get out. And nothing exciting to report from the tweets at all. And the funny story for yesterday was... it was actually from Outlaw. We had 2 calls expected to come in. Okay, one was, in fact, I forget who they were now, Galliano, I think it was, and one other, I don't know. But anyway, all of a sudden, just as we thought, oh, they're not calling, oh, they're too busy, blah, blah, blah. We had this rule that no one was to make any calls and join the list until they crossed the date line. Of course, they just, or, 180 degree east or west longitude. And, most of the boats were over yesterday. And then all of a sudden, Outlaw popped up and Jack answered the call. And I'm saying, what are they calling for? They're not due today. They're due for tomorrow. Was it tomorrow? Now I'm getting totally confused. No, they were due on, now I'm getting confused. Anyway, the short story was that they were on yesterday, okay, or the day before, not today. And so they were at the end of the day, the same day, and we thought they missed out. So the short story was they were meant to ring, and I was complaining they weren't to ring. Long story. Anyway, typical confusion on that dateline. So that's all good, and I think we'll just go straight to the tracker now and show you what's going on. The fleet is getting a huge ride here now. I'll hit that, and I should pop up at the bottom. Hit it again. Yep, there I am. So I can go across here. Yeah, we continue to be lucky, and I'll show you why in a minute. But here's the situation. There's a really big high pressure system just off to the southeast of the fleet. Okay. And down here in the Furious Fit, this is still the Roaring 40s, but once you get down to this level, there's 50 degrees south. So that's where they're heading. They're coming down, down here, of course, because of the center of the high, they're to the east of the rum line, to the west of the rum line. On this side, trying to miss that center. And, generally it's going to be a pretty good ride. So we'll start off heading down to show you what the Explorer's up to. They're still on 1 hourly updating because they're still so close to the finish. They crossed the line at about midday yesterday. And they're now, they've got basically headwinds because they're trying to get around this cape here, just the top corner of the North Island. And you can see where the wind's coming, so that's their problem. They'll keep holding that, head on down, and then they'll do it at some point. They'll tack up this way, and then they've got to decide when they go. Mark's taken the weather forecasting for the next 7 days. They've got copies of all of that, so they should know what's going on, and it's not looking so exciting for them compared to what the rest of the fleet did. The rest of the fleet was doing 200-mile days, just roaring straight along there without any issues at all. Currently doing 1.2 knots, absolutely flying. They snuck inside the islands here. Not a lot of breeze there at all. They only did 79 miles from the start, so very slow indeed. So I'll pick this up and see what's going to happen for their weather while we're sitting here. So there's the first day, not a lot of changes, but it's slowly going to sling to the northeast. And that's good news for them, but it's very light. They need to get out here as quick as they can. So hopefully they'll do a short tack and get the stronger breeze gradient, which is coming from the northeast. But we'll have to wait and see. I've been enjoying the conditions, though. It's always nice to settle in when it's quite calm. So then they're going to hold that northeasterly, but at least that means it's one leg. So before, within 24 hours, they'll make one leg. They'll probably cut this really tight. And once they get the other side of it, it's continuing to swing to the northeast as they get on the back edge of this high, and it goes northerly. So they're probably going to lose, obviously they left 2 days late, and I think by comparison to the rest of the fleet, they're going to lose another day and a half by the time they get into the swing of it. So they'll end up being about 3.5 days behind the fleet in the next 2 or 3 days. So that's their cup of tea. All right, so what's happening down here? Well, first of all, I am really surprised at one simple aspect. They've all had the forecasting, and you see yesterday I was saying, you'll see them dip south pretty quickly because you don't want to get hung up on on the centre of this high, but Outlaw went way out wide, still kept going. I'm not sure why, but it's not in a good position at the moment because they're going to be impacted by the centre more than the others. But the timing here is pretty good. Penjuic's probably picked it. This is right where you want to be. They're not going that fast because they're on the edge of it. But Helsinki, I think you might see them lose out a little bit maybe. But it's a trade-off because you can see Helsinki is still relevant to the run line in a reasonable position, but it's going to be a slow turn. But before we get into all the tactics, I'll just walk you through the fleet and show you who's doing what in terms of boat speed. I'll start at the back this time. So Sterner, 6.8 knots. They're still making time. And they're going to close the gap a little bit with the leaders because they've got this breeze gradient where the others are slowing right down. I mean, you look at Maiden's only doing 6 knots, whereas Sterner's doing 6.8 knots. So that's good for them. So Sterner, 6.8 knots, did a 116-mile day. Not too bad at all. And there's a little bit of a catch-up coming up. 122-mile day for Outlaw, and they're doing 7.1 knots now, so that's not bad. The Esprit de Keep, 7.2 knots, 133-mile day. And yeah, no complaints. Evrika is in front of them to a degree. 6.8 knots, 130-mile day. Galliana with Secures caught up really well. She, as I said at the start, she was lagging way behind. Takes them a while to get their legs. They're probably repacking because the big story with Galliana is that there's 12 people on the boat and it's a tiny boat. It's small. It's a Swan 55, classic S&S design, but it's actually smaller than Sterner, which is 53 footer. It's less volume. So they're all packed in. So I reckon they were repacking. But now they've repacked, they're underway and sailing really well. So they'll be excited about that. White Shadow, right up there. In fact, I was very surprised to see the IRC rankings this morning. I'm not saying these guys are slow, but usually they're, sort of towards the back of the fleet. It's too early to tell because the whole fleet is bunched together right now. It's early days. The separation and performance gaps will extend as we move by the end of the first week. It'll start to show a bit more. But right now, White Shadow are doing really well. They're in fact, here we go. I haven't been giving you what's going on, but they're first in Saola class, third in IRC, which is very impressive. That's the one that surprised me the most. Fifth in line on it. So can't complain about that. 6.6 knots, 122-mile day. I don't think. Okay, Galliana, 134-mile day. That's where they picked up a bit, 7.2 knots. They have all their spinnakers up and mizzen staysails and bloopers and so on. Triana, 6.7. They've tactically headed south the earliest and the fastest, and it may pay off. It just depends when we show you here what's going to happen to the high. But those guys are hot. They will absolutely have been probably still working to a computerized routing program, saying exactly what they should be doing because they, there's some hot sailors in there, and that's what they're usually sailing with, So in a good position tactically. Second in IRC, 110-mile day, not as far as some of the others, but still pretty good. 6.7 knots, so they're happy with that. And Neptune, 4.9 knots. You can see the difference it makes. I mean, obviously there's local weather, but if you look at their positioning to the centre of the high, that's actually they're a little bit further off the mark. They've got less wind, and they're only probably a few miles from Triana. Now here's the challenge. You can see here that both Translated and Penjuic are getting sucked in towards the centre of the high. And what's happening is that the wind is so light, they're trying to keep the apparent wind higher to keep them moving faster. But it's an interesting move. It depends what happens here. If the centre of the high moves quickly, they're okay because they'll be in this gradient. But if it holds, to keep the apparent wind up, they're still in light weather. So there's a bit of jostling going on at the moment. And again, Simon as navigator, skipper on board, he knows what he's doing. He would have got all the forecasting, all the routing advice and so on. And so, they're probably riding the pressures off their barometer at the moment. Who knows? Anyway, 5.5 knots, only 113-mile day. So the mid-fleet is catching up to them. And Penjuic, similar deal, only 106 miles where the others are moving faster. You could see Triana go straight around the bottom of Penjuic on this, but it's a long way to go to Cape Horn, so don't despair. And technically, Penjuic is closer to Cape Horn than Triana. This distance here is the difference there sailing to the mark. So very interesting to watch. Second in line on us. We'll check here how it pans out. Second in line on us. I wonder if Helsinki's first in line on us. So they look as if they may be in a worse tactical position, but the distance to Cape Horn to get around, they're the closest. So they're showing as still leading the pack. Sixth in IRC. Penjuic is 10th in IRC, way behind, not performing under handicap to their rating. They're a much bigger boat. You'd think they'd be stretching their legs, but the weather is dictating everything for the whole fleet. So that's a bit of a rundown there. We'll look at what the weather's doing going forward. I'll just when I learn how to drive this computer, it's a bit sticky. Yep, there we go. We'll see what the weather is going to do here. You can see, there's an interesting one to show you how lucky the whole fleet is. In about 10 days, there's a monster coming around the corner of New Zealand, if you will. Anyway, I'm jumping ahead here. So you can see pretty quickly that centre is squashing out and moving rapidly to the east, and that's all good news for the fleet. So you'll see them turn around really quickly, and then probably in the next report they'll still be heading south, try and get down, or southeast, I should say. But you'll see their course. Oh boy, it's so sticky. You'll see their course start to come a little bit more to the east instead of dipping totally south. So I think Helsinki, Penjuic, and all the rest of it, they're all in relatively good positions. And this is all happening in the first 24 hours. So I'll keep clicking it through. You see there's plenty of wind, but then it goes soft again. So this northerly slant is going to go soft, but then it picks up. So they'll just have spinnakers, perfect sailing to get down. This is the next day, and you could not ask for any better. I mean, this is crazy. It's just giving them such a good ride. They're going to make really good time. It's not good news for Explorer, but I think Explorer is going to do okay as well. So here we go, day 2, and plenty of breeze there. So once they've got onto this, they'll be roaring across. And if we look at that high, it's just turned into a monster one. It's a big system, huge system. It's going halfway across the Pacific. Really quite a big system. And plenty of wind all the way down to get them down into the 50s or close to the 50s. That's our first waypoint. They've got to leave to starboard when they go around. So I think you'll see them follow the run line pretty closely because there's a breeze going right down there. And they're actually how far to go to the run line right now. 800 miles. So that's about 4 days. And they've got 4 days of influence from this high pressure. So it's just fantastic. And here comes we'll watch what happens here when we keep going. I saw this morning. So you can see it's all good weather and it's all still looking good. Even Explorer's going to get a kick. That's all pretty cool. Then we keep going. So all those beautiful northeasterlies get heavier. The internet's very slow at the moment. Heavy. That's going to be big winds. So that would be a weather alert there possibly. But what we'll see for the fleet, 22nd, 5 days. By then, the majority of the fleet's down here somewhere. And here it comes. Here's where our luck could have been right out. Now, if you see this, here comes the headwinds. So I'll just pick this up. There's another cyclone up there. That's interesting. A late cyclone. So you can see now, if this is on the 23rd, which would have been 10 days after the start, if this was the weather we were getting, the fleet would be sailing there and they'd all have headwinds. Headwinds to get down there, which would not be good. And then not only that, it's getting worse and worse. That's big headwinds, right? Imagine sailing out into that. It just gets bigger and bigger and nastier and nastier. So that just highlights the fact that the whole fleet at the moment, imagine trying to get around that. That's shaping up to be, it's a very serious depression anyway. If they had had that, they would not be enjoying the ride. So we're all very lucky, thanks to the gods and all the rest of it. That's pretty much it there, but we'll just have a quick peek at the leaderboard for the moment when I get over here. And now I've got to try and get the leaderboard up here. That one. Okay, so here we go. So we forget about line honours. I'll show you line honours. It's a little bit irrelevant at the moment because they're not heading to the mark. They're sailing to the weather. But Spirit of Helsinki, Penduic, Maiden, Translated, White Shadow, right up there. Fifth, Neptune, Esprit de Kip, Evrika, Outlaw, and so it goes. But as I say, it doesn't really mean much until you get about 10 days out. And it's a bit the same for the IRC as well. They're a bit sailing to the weather tactics rather than actually heading to the mark. But nonetheless, Translated 9 is on IRC. Triana is second. White Shadow, third in IRC. Then Maiden and Galliano was secure. So, everyone's pretty much sailing very well. I can imagine the discussions on the boat right now. They'll all be saying, "Cheapest, this is bloody brilliant, fantastic." So let's go back here and I click on this one and I'll see what the comments are. Oh, we've got a few watching this morning. That's kind of nice. Hi, Don. They're making good. Absolutely. Watching with interest from Australia. Why is Sterner so far behind? Well, they're a smaller boat and they didn't get a good break in the first number of hours, which slowed them up as well. Has Jeremy attracted barnacles again? Absolutely not. Maybe I can't even put it down to being GGR skippers because Simon's up there and he's on the lead boat at the moment. He's a GGR skipper. You've got 5 involved at the moment or something right now. So Golden Globe is having an impact on the OGR. John, when are you and Jane leaving for Punta? We head out on the 22nd. We'll be over there on the 22nd. Quite looking forward to getting to the Yacht Club Punta del Este. They're great people over there. It's a great club, really good setup. And we'll settle in and get ready to go. I think Georgie and Jack will be over there a few days after us, so we keep the emergency phones working while we're in the air. And I have so much luggage, our bloody shipment of all our gear, all our banners, all our flames, everything that we shipped out of Cape Town is not going to get to Punta on time. Complete balls up by the shipping company, long story. So now we've had to salvage a whole pile of stuff from here, which was meant not to go, and we've got it in cases and stuff, and we've taken on the plane. So we've got 6 cases of stuff going to Punta with us. So it's going to be a bit of an epic. Anyway, in the plane, that's going to be fun, I tell you. Nearly all doesn't fit in the car. And we're still having to ship one particular one, which is oversized by DHL. So we will have banners and bits and pieces in Punta, but it's not what we'd intended, but we will have branding. Okay. Thanks, Assam. Hi from Southampton. Thanks for the great start video. Yeah, it was pretty specky. We were looking at it yesterday when Explorer left. It was grey, overcast. It was still beautiful. But if the whole fleet had been going through that, it would have been a lot less exciting. Okay, that's it. So we'll see you same time tomorrow. And thanks for following. Follow the tweets. Jane will get them up. And we're getting some pictures in and bits and pieces. We've just as a matter of interest, some of you may not realise, but we actually, as an organiser of the event, we actually support some entries because they're good for us as well as them. And as you know, we had some challenges with Penduic, with their Starlink and so on, and we've now solved some of that. We've given them a special dispensation once again to keep their fans happy. So it's a bit of a long story, but the short story is that Penduic is back online with videos and 3 photos a week. And we've Marie has a highly recognised, highly regarded blog. Okay, and it's been a stumbling block for us, but in the end, I think it's fair to say that no one ever gets enough sponsorship, and there's been some impacts for Penduic, and so we've given her also just Penduic and Marie a special dispensation to reply with and continue her historic blog every week with up to 1,000 words. And we thought long and hard about this, but that's the case, and it's only for her for a specific reason. So you can look forward to that as well. Anyway, all good. We'll see you tomorrow. Hit this one, and we're gone.